So I wanted to start the readings that I'm doing on this next journey for myself here in Greece on the beautiful island of Crete with a reading of the work of Lawrence Durrell. Lawrence Durrell is one of my favorite authors. I oscillate between Alfredo Vea and Lawrence Durrell. Lawrence Durrell is the writer that writes not only in the most masterful prose that I like, but also in the settings that I like, which are very Levantine, very Grecian, very still international, but always very much in Greek settings. Alfredo Vea, though, writes very much in the themes of my spirituality and comic book realism and alchemy, and being a mixed Latino himself. But anyway, today it's Lawrence Durrell. And I wanted to read from Reflections on a Marine Venus. So this is a little excerpt. There is only one portrait. Before I start, I probably should say I chose to do this reading on one of the windiest day here. I think there's like 20-mile-per-hour winds right now, so you might hear the wind. And you might see me trying to balance and not fall into the water and lose my phone and lose the paper and all those fun things of when you're doing a recording. There is only one portrait I shrink from, that of the Marine Venus. Should the reader ever visit her in her little cell, he would know why. The presiding genius of a place or an epoch may be named, but she may not be properly described. Yet the Venus, when she was raised that sunny morning from the damp crypt in which she had lain hidden, when the packing case which held her had been broken open, when the pulleys finally raised her out of the darkness, slowly twisting on the end of her cable, why, which of us could fail to recognize the presiding genius of the place? A statue of a woman, period uncertain, found at the bottom of Rhodes Harbor, damaged by seawater. I can still see the faces of my friends as they surrounded the dark trap door out of which she rose so gravely into the sunlight. Hoyle and Gideon sitting astride a plank. Ergon Huber, who had helped to bury her, smiling with pleasure to see her undamaged, while Miles and Sergeant Croker and a collection of barefoot urchins grunted and groaned on the ropes which were raising her. She rose as if foam-born, turning that elegant body slowly from side to side, as if bowing to her audience. The seawater had sucked at her for centuries till she was like some white stone jujube. I have to look that up. With hardly features sharp as the Burren must originally have left it. Yet such was the grace of her composition, the slender neck and breasts on that richly modeled torso, the supple line of arm and thigh, that absence of firm outline only lent her a soft and confusing grace. Instead of sharp classical features, she had been given something infinitely more adolescent, unformed. The ripeness of her body was offset by the face, not of a Greek matron, but of a young girl. We carried her swaddled in sacking down the museum corridors, up a staircase to a little room in which you will find her today. It is an ugly enough stone cabin and chosen for her by a man who had some silly theory that she was too damaged to look beautiful, except from certain angles. Hence the theatrical north light which plays up the fine modeling of her back and throws those innocent features into dark relief. But in a little while your eyes will have accustomed themselves to the consuming darkness of the room, and you will be able to trace them with your finger, the cold lip and eyebrow, the stone tresses, It is as if she were made of wax, had been passed very rapidly across a flame intense enough to blunt her features. Yet not materially to alter them. She has surrendered her original maturity for a rediscovered youth. The fishermen dragged her up one afternoon in their nets. It seemed to them to be a rich catch, but it was only a heavy marble figure of a marine Venus, tangled in weeds and with a few startled fish leaping like silver coins about her placid white countenance with its sightless eyes. She sits in the museum of the island now, focused intently upon her own inner life, gravely meditating upon the works of time. So long as we are in this place, we shall not be free from her. It is as if our thoughts must be forever stained by some of her own dark illumination, the preoccupation of a stone woman inherited from a past whose greatest hopes and ideals fell to ruins. Behind and through her, the whole idea of Greece glows sadly, like some broken capital, like the sharpened pieces of a graceful jar, like the torso of a statue to hope. With that dramatic ending to that passage. So this is nonfiction, by the way. If I failed to mention, Lawrence Durrell not only wrote fiction, works of fiction, but obviously nonfiction in his travels throughout Greece, Rhodes being one of them. And I read that, I think, after, at some point, I don't remember final draft, what draft it was of my own novel, To Love Like Venus, and I got goosebumps. This passage speaks to me so much because a big nonfiction origin of my novel, To Love Like Venus, is always constantly being haunted or remembering quite vividly a dream I had in probably that adolescent or probably younger period of that statue's life, of my life, slip, where I remember walking to the sea in my dream and hearing and seeing a statue. And I felt like it was calling to me, and it was in the sea, and I walked into it, to the sea, and I touched it. And when I touched the stone of the statue, I switched places with it. I became the statue, and whatever was in that statue was allowed to then take my physical form or a physical form. And I remember being that statue under the sea, submerged, and watching her walk off and laughing. And just existing as having turned to stone. If you combine that dream, which I remember sharing with my mother when I was young, with also the nonfiction story that the To Love Like Venus starts out with a mother telling her daughter that statues are what become of us when we die. It's just something that obviously stuck with me a lot enough to be a very big part of what To Love Like Venus is premised. Or origin story, or a seed, or something that just hit me. So to see it in Lawrence Durrell's work, this marine Venus being unearthed, not even unearthed, but being extracted from the sea, reminded me so much of that dream, not knowing if somebody would find me. So, to be continued, but I did want to start out my Grecian readings with the work of a favorite author, Lawrence Durrell.